I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what the fuck to do.
Oh my fucking god, dude. Oh my fucking god, dude. Holy shit, dude.
Yes! Oh my god! 454.881 plus both quests world record.
For many people, speedrunning is seen as a competition. What better way to display mastery of a game than by beating it the fastest? Most people have seen or heard about the best runs, and as impressive as they are, it also got me thinking. What about the runs at the bottom of these leaderboards that often go overlooked? Checking what they're like is easy enough. Just pick a game, pick a category, scroll to the bottom, and check the last place. So, after looking into a couple hundred games and even more categories, what sort of runs did I see at the bottom, and what do some of these slowest times in speedrunning look like? There were generally three main categories that most runs I saw fell into. That being legitimate speedruns, slow runs, and unknown reasons. For legitimate speedruns, these are what you might expect. It's people trying to go through a game, level, or some sort of challenge as fast as possible, without setting any additional conditions for themselves, or intentionally trying to get a bad time. For many people, it often comes down to a lack of experience. Imagine just playing through the game once or twice, then deciding to record yourself with a timer. You skip dialogue, know where to go, and how to reach the ending, meaning you can probably beat the game faster than most, but there isn't any real innovative method to what you're doing. All of the various time-saving maneuvers and glitches that you tend to see in the best runs usually aren't performed here, or are performed so slowly that they don't manage to save any time as a result. It's actually pretty interesting to see how some of these runs compare to the first place individuals, as you see the strategies that people come up with or begin to figure out. Mistakes were common to see, and it's almost always accepted that the run has room for improvement, and some people have even less experience than that. You'll find a variety of first-time playthroughs ranging from very casual first-time runs to people blind speedrunning with little to no knowledge of what they can expect in-game. You'll even find a few people sitting in last for multiple categories because they blind speedrun with their friends on a regular basis. Really, there isn't too much to say here. This is a pretty general category that covers a wide variety of runs and tends to find itself as the last place reason for most categories, regardless of how many runs are submitted. No matter how well everyone performs, someone is going to end up in last place, and sometimes the gap between them and the next person is only a few minutes, while other times they end up being a few hours slower. Our next category of slow runs was actually more interesting to watch than you might think. If the first category consisted of people trying their best, this category consists of people actively trying their worst. The goal here is simple: get last place in the category you're submitting to. For some people, that means messing around in-game for 10 or 20 minutes, and for others, that means getting 99% of the way through a game, hitting the pause button, and coming back in a few hours once their position is secure. More often than not, you'd see this done as a joke rather than for any competitive purposes. For most games I saw that had people slow running, you'd typically only have one, maybe two individuals engaging and submitting runs like this. However, a few communities have actually taken it beyond just being a niche activity by having multiple people all trying to take last place. Perhaps the most well-known leaderboard where this occurs is the Minecraft Java Edition community. What started off as a small joke between some runners gradually began to attract a greater amount of attention, and over the last few years, more people began joining in, each time adding a few more hours to their runs and driving the last place position to taking well over 24 hours. That was until on June 2nd, 2021, when a user by the name of Leopold Vivo would take Minecraft slow running to another level. Just days after a 38-hour playthrough had set a new record, Leopold would come forward with a run that went for over 100 hours. But this run from Leopold would only last for about a month and a half, before the user Septix TV would surpass him with a time of 111 hours. The massive amount of time required to try for last place at this point would begin to result in a decline in the number of people slow running. Septix's record would hold throughout the rest of 2021, but just 5 days into the new year, LostBoy162 would come forward with a time of 120 hours by leaving his stream going while he slept, went to work, and did other things. But even this run wouldn't last. On February 20th, the Eclipse 6 would take things even further with a time of 133 hours, where as of the making of this video, he currently appears to hold the slowest time. While nothing says that a person can't intentionally get a bad time, slow running hasn't been without its pushback from some community members. It's important to note that most of the slow runs I saw were being performed in categories that don't have any rules about pausing or taking breaks, meaning that runners may have to play for hours or schedule their lives around keeping a recording going for days. Most slow runs didn't actually seem to go on for long enough that factors like being hungry or tired should be much of a problem, but that hasn't stopped people from questioning if slow running should even be encouraged or allowed since they aren't really speedruns. Some leaderboards such as those for Poppy's Playtime have even taken steps to dissuade people from trying to slow run by implementing anti-AFK rules. This actually led to multiple runs being disqualified due to the fact that they were just spending hours in-game watching a video player. I also want to make note of something. Just because a run takes a long time doesn't mean it's a slow run. There's plenty of leaderboards out there that have things like segmented runs and pauses in recording, because what the runner is trying to achieve takes so long. These are just people following the rules given to them, and those rules say that it's fine to take a break. So runs like this 68-hour Breath of the Wild 100% submission wouldn't be considered a slow run like those Minecraft playthroughs. I do think you could call something like this Super Mario Sunshine 120 Shines run more of a slow run though. This was performed as part of a 602 speedrun, where players collect 602 stars across 4 different games. Pausing and breaks are allowed as long as the timer is kept running. In this case, the individual performing this playthrough just grabbed the portion of the run where they were going through Sunshine and decided to submit it to the 120 board. And since they took 2 breaks to sleep at this part in their 602 speedrun, their time for Sunshine individually comes out to be far slower than anyone else. Obviously, they weren't trying to go for a good time specifically in the Sunshine segment, so I'd say it ends up being more of an unintentional slow run. You might see something similar in other longer runs where the runner will just pause to take a break. I don't think most people would blame someone for wanting to stand up for a few minutes to take care of themselves if the lack of experience leads to the run taking far longer than it should. But if someone just randomly hits pause and disappears for a few hours on a run that would take most people a few minutes, it's probably safe to guess that they're slow running. Interestingly, slow running was really only something I saw being performed on the most popular games. The categories that you might think would have people slow running with segmented recordings, allowing for someone to easily get a high time, were pretty much all legitimate speedruns. Not everyone needed to go for hours to ensure last place, and I almost got the feeling that some people treat the really long runs like more of an endurance test, so maybe there is some credibility to people saying it's bad for your health. It's possible that there are some other really extreme examples out there, but I need to explain our next category to show why I'm not sure if that's the case. Our next category is unknown reasons for the time obtained. It might seem odd to think about at first. After all, how could a run be accepted without evidence? The records that everyone is familiar with will have videos or some other proof as validation, but these runs don't seem to have any of that. It does, however, begin to make a bit more sense when you start to think about it. Some people's runs are 7 or 8 years old at this point, so the possibility of a video being taken down due to channel deletion or a copyright strike due to listening to music in the background is always a possibility. It's a similar story for things like Twitch VODs and screenshots. Sometimes they don't even last a short amount of time before disappearing. All of these runs were valid enough at one point to be verified, but whatever allowed it to be accepted no longer seems to be publicly available. Generally, I wanted to try to give people the benefit of the doubt if I could when it came to trying to determine the reason for being in last. If there was something like a comment indicating what it might have been, or if there wasn't anything odd about the time, you could probably guess as to what type of run it was. But there's still plenty of runs where I really have no idea what's going on here. For example, let's look at the last place Super Metroid 100% submission. This is a run with a recorded time of 55 hours, 19 minutes, and 18 seconds. By comparison, the place above took only 5 hours and 50 minutes for a run performed by someone who says it was their first attempt. It seems odd to think then that someone would take so much longer unless they were intentionally going for a bad time. There's no evidence, no comments, and considering the user hasn't been on the website in over 3 years, I don't think asking them is much of an option. I do have a possible theory on this one, however, that the time may have been incorrectly entered. The Super Metroid leaderboards are one of the few that don't require any form of moderator verification, and based on some forum posts I saw, it seems like a few people have incorrectly entered their times before. So maybe this person just put in their time wrong, or it could be they just submitted a high time knowing that no one would check if it was real or not. These were the 3 main categories that most runs I saw fell into, but there were some other reasons I saw for people being in last. These were things like the runner performing a custom challenge run. While plenty of boards have categories for everything you can imagine and more, sometimes people try to speedrun a game in a way that doesn't have enough of a community to justify a whole new category. These include things like running through a game blindfolded, or using an alternative method of controls like this Breath of the Wild run performed with a ring-fit controller. Sometimes you'd see runs that look like challenge runs, such as this submission for Cookie Clicker that's trying to reach 1 million cookies without clicking, until you realize that NoClick has its own separate leaderboards. You'd occasionally see someone doing a 100% run, then they just decide to submit it to the any percent category as well, since it's probably going to fit in over there. There's even a 100% submission for Spyro 2 that holds last place in nearly every main category just by having the same video resubmitted over and over again. Finally, we come to last place runs that it's probably not even accurate to call speedruns. Joke submissions are something that just about every leaderboard has to deal with, and they'll typically always be denied verification, but sometimes it seems like a few of them are allowed to stay up. One of them I saw was on the Portal 2 leaderboards from the user PoopSnack. His evidence just consists of him typing 24 hours into Google and saying that was his runtime, and to play along with the joke, the mods decided to accept the run, giving PoopSnack last place. Meanwhile, on the Resident Evil 2 leaderboards, at a first glance, nothing might seem out of the ordinary. That is, until you click on the last place run and see that it's just a rickroll. The only other time I saw rickrolls like this exist were when they were accompanied with something like a screenshot. It's funny to see some of these submissions being allowed to stay up, but I can understand why people wouldn't want them flooding the bottom of leaderboards. Now I want to ask everyone a question. What is the longest possible time a person could get for a speedrun? Technically there might not be a true longest time, since you could just leave a run going or find some new goal to reach. But at least for speedrun.com, the limit is 999 hours. Anything more than that and the website won't record it. Keep in mind that 999 hours comes out to just over 41.5 days. While no one I've seen on the website has actually gone on for this long, there are still plenty of runs out there that have gone on for hundreds of hours. Over on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories board, the fastest time to 100% the game with no RNG manipulation is currently at 72 hours and 34 minutes, while the longest time went on for a whole 174 hours. The length here is primarily caused by terrible drop rates for a large number of cards. Surprisingly, an even slower run can be found in the RNG manipulation category, coming in at a time of 201 hours. Luckily, people here are allowed to take breaks. You'll tend to see segmented recordings and pausing being allowed in categories that have much longer playthroughs, but not every category allows people to freely turn off the camera. If you thought the Minecraft slow running times were long, then the Bat and Kados 100% category takes waiting around to another level. This is a category that takes at a minimum 336 hours to complete, as a result of needing to age a card called Shampoo into splendid hair by holding on to it for a whole 2 weeks. There's no way to speed this process up, and it's required to unlock one of the final soundtracks. And the leaderboards here have some special rules when it comes to submitting runs. If your run takes more than 350 hours, you're allowed to just submit a screenshot of your profile's playtime. If you fall into the 340 to 350 hour range, then you're allowed to just show the first part of your run obtaining the shampoo, and the last part near the end. But if you wanted to be the fastest by competing against the first place run that took 337 hours and 55 minutes, you'd have to record everything as the game idles for hundreds of hours until the shampoo evolves. This actually led to the runner Bafan being temporarily banned from Twitch back in 2016 for non-gaming related content due to excessive idling. You'd expect this could be a possible issue for any run that has to go on for so long, but the only Gran Turismo 4 100% speedrun found a way to avoid any idling related problems. With endurance races that take 24 hours of driving to complete, high skill level challenges, and no rules surrounding brakes, it seems like no one was willing to take on the challenge of performing a 100% speedrun. That was until April of 2020 when the Book 92 and 3 of his friends came together to perform a relay and beat the game. It would take them 230 hours of constantly driving to finally 100% everything. Even today, they're still the only people with a recorded time in this category. Beyond both of these games, we arrive at 2 of the longest runs on the website, that being a 528-hour Spider Ride of the Shrouded Moon run from Snowfats, and a 564-hour Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition 100% clear from TT Inquisitor. Spider Ride of the Shrouded Moon is a game that relies on real-life factors such as time, weather, and phases of the moon to fully complete. As a result, most people will just manipulate the game's time to beat it, but one of the only speedrunners for the game, Snowfats, decided to see how quickly the game could be beaten without time manipulation. After calculating out when he would need to play based on phases of the moon, it took him a whole 528 hours to beat the game. Although it is debatable how much of this is really considered a speedrun, since the actual playing and recording part only took a few hours, with most of the time spent waiting for another opportunity to make progress. As for Hyrule Warriors, this one doesn't need much explaining. It's one of those games that takes hundreds of hours to 100%, and so far only 2 people have submitted runs for it. The first place time sits at 288 hours, but the second place went on for 564 hours, making it one of the longest known speedruns on the website. But what about runs that aren't on the website? What about the last place runs in all of speedrunning that aren't recorded on speedrun.com? Searching around produced some cases like this Animal Crossing New Leaf speedrun from Cold Eggman, that took 638 hours to 100% the game. So why isn't a run like this on speedrun.com? As I mentioned with challenge runs, sometimes a category specifically for what the runner is trying to do doesn't exist, and they're forced to just submit the run in any other category that will accept it. In the case of Cold Eggman's run, there really isn't any category that his run fits into, and when the leaderboard moderators were asked about it, they denied the request for a 100% category. Even longer than this, we come to a run that's currently ongoing. The individual who performed that 564-hour Hyrule Warriors speedrun, TT Inquisitor, has been working on a segmented 100% Diablo 3 solo speedrun that's been going on for nearly 1400 hours as of the making of this video. By his estimates, it sounds like he's not even halfway through yet, as a forum post he made back at the 1000 hour mark states that he believes his run will take another 5800 hours. This may be the longest speedrun once it's completed, but there are 2 other games I want to mention. The first is Old School RuneScape. It's debatable how many people actually speedrun this, but once back in 2020, a Jagex moderator tweeted about the fastest recorded times they had when it came to maxing all skills on an account. On a regular account, the fastest time was set at 89 days and 20 hours, or about 2,156 hours in total. while an Ultimate Iron Man account with restrictions to trading and using the bank had a fastest max time at 206 days and 10 hours, or 4,954 hours in total. As for the other game I wanted to mention, this is often brought up as more of a joke, but people are technically correct about the time if you wanted to perform a true 100% run with it. I'm sure there's at least one person out there that would claim that they're currently performing a true 100% clear of the Stanley Parable, but this one isn't really taken seriously as a speedrun. This is because if you actually wanted to 100% the game, you'd have to play through it and complete everything, then not open the game for 10 years to get the Super Go Outside achievement. This means to do it legitimately without any time skips, you can't actually get this achievement until, at a minimum, 2032, and people thought aging shampoo for 2 weeks in Baton Kados was bad. I'm sure there are other games out there with ridiculous playtime requirements for anyone that wants to 100% everything, but these are just some of the extremes people have gone to say they've fully beaten a game. Should these sorts of long runs be allowed or encouraged? Who knows? No one really appeared to be pushing themselves to an unhealthy level, and even the people with times in the hundreds of hours weren't continuously playing for days all at once. Leaderboards might not allow it, but people will still continue to find and engage in runs that take weeks to beat. Whether it's just a regular speed run, a slow run, or some sort of challenge, someone is always going to end up with the longest time. If you enjoyed this video, then remember to like and subscribe. Until next time, catch you next time.